Here we are at the end of our celebration of the day of Christmas, which began here with our midnight mass, or mass in the night last night, but also coming immediately on the heels of the fourth Sunday of Advent just yesterday. So we've had a pretty tight schedule. And so what did I do last night after celebrating and having a glass of Prosecco with the staff? I went home and watched YouTube. Because why go to bed? And I saw this beautiful little clip. It's so odd and weird, but it was 3 years of a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old, the same child over 3 years, opening gifts. And the first, when he was 1 year old, he opened the package and it was a banana. And he was so thankful and so happy. But there was more. The second package was an apple. And this father obviously thought this was funny. And I just kept thinking, maybe as a 1-year-old, that would be okay. Then the child was 2. And once again, he opened a banana and an apple. And he was gleeful. And then he was 3, and I thought, surely, projecting my own emotions into this situation, I thought surely he's going to react against the apple and the banana. And once again, he opened it, and though the glee wasn't as great, he was still happy, but he said, no, you missed something. I want an orange. How many of us on any Christmas morning would be content when we're opening our gifts, and we know that's not really what Christmas is about, especially for us adults? How many of us would be happy with a banana and an apple, longing for an orange? At the toe of my stocking every year growing up, we got a tangerine. It was supposedly something to do with St. Nicholas and reminiscent of the gold he threw over the walls to help the poor families in need. But I just remember thinking, a tangerine, that was really good space for chocolate. But we gather on Christmas morning, most of you already having opened at least some gifts, having gotten up and come to celebrate the real reason for Christmas, to celebrate the gift we received that wasn't banana or orange or apple, but the very Son of God coming into our world, coming as an infant, being laid in a manger in a backwater country, being laid in a place of abject poverty, so that perhaps we might realize what true gift is, that we might recognize that those things we count on and look for and believe are important maybe aren't. And so we celebrate the babe who came into our world. We celebrate the one that the prophet Isaiah prophesied about when he said, how beautiful on the mountains are the feet of the one who brings good news, who heralds peace, who brings happiness and proclaims salvation, and tells Zion, your God is king. So we celebrate that one who came 2,000 plus years ago to announce the good news of salvation, to announce peace, to announce happiness. And we know that we live in a world that is still broken apart by war and violence. We live in a world, the very place that Jesus was born is being torn apart by warfare and violence today, not just recently. We know that hardship still abounds, but yet we put our hope in the one who came so many years ago. We're told by Isaiah that the watchmen lift their voices and shout for joy, and they break into shouts of joy together. Isn't this the shepherds in the field, who, having heard the heavenly host, having been scared by the presence of angels, rejoice fully, and as we see in all of our crib scenes, are standing there next to the Christ child, seeing the innocent one, laying there, the one who came to bring hope to us all. We hear from the letter to the Hebrews that at various times in the past and in different ways, God spoke to our ancestors, but in our own time, the writer says, in our own time, he has spoken to us through his Son. And that the Son is that radiant light of God. And isn't that what we see in all of those creche scenes depicted across history and paintings? If you look at all of these beautiful medieval paintings of the scene in Bethlehem, the child radiates. It's as if there's a light turned on inside of him. And the child radiates light for all the world. And that's what we hear in this beautiful passage from John, which is probably one of the last written parts of the New Testament, where it's reflecting on this reality that we believe, reflecting on the fact that the world was dark and light came into it, and that we now live in the presence of that light. We now radiate that same light ourselves, should we choose. For we hear that each of us who come to believe in the Christ child have been given the power to become true children of God. And what does that mean? What it means is we've been given the power, we've been given the opportunity to allow that same light to shine forth in us, to enlighten our souls, to help us rid ourselves of our own little aspects of darkness, so that we can go forth as a people, we can go forth as the body of Christ to shed the light of God to all the world. That we can be the solution, not because we ourselves are God, but because God can use us to bring his peace and his joy to our world. All of us have received grace. Grace in return for grace. Today, as we gather in this church, as we gather as a people of God, as we gather as families rejoicing about all that we are as communities of love, let us take an extra minute to reflect on the grace we've received. Not Xboxes or new cars, not even bananas and apples, but grace. Grace to be the fullness of Christ's presence in our world, the grace to be bearers of the Christ child in everything we say and do.